Hello! Consider a list of time travelers with names like Marty McFly, Ebenezer Scrooge, or Satoshi Nakamoto. Now let's visit Asuka, and you'll feel there is someone else missing in that list. Asuka is a quirky town that lays quietly 50 kilometers away from bustling Osaka, offering a sharp contrast to the frantic urban crowds with its peaceful countryside. Although unimposing, Asuka was once the Japanese capital, seat to heavenly emperors and mysterious stone constructions. The best way to visit Asuka is to rent a bicycle, electric please, by the train station and up on and off the puzzling ruins dropped on the countryside. These are traces of imperial buildings from the centuries 3 to 6 AD, ruins that, as with most everything in Japan, can feel both completely different and strangely familiar, as if someone went back into the past, accidentally stepped on a snail or killed Hitler, and then returns to find the world all upside down. In Asuka, the latest alternate timeline site, dated from 571, is the Emperor's Chimney's Kofun. It's an imperial burial ground, as the name suggests, although kofun is the Japanese word for tomb and not coffin. Coffins consist of an earth mount, roughly the shape of a keyhole, surrounded by a water moat, which were the latest drop-dead fashion when Asuka's imperial status was going kaput. Japan has an incredible 160,000 of these keyhole islands lying around. That's because coffins were intended for imperial hotshots, and the emperors of Japan are considered divine, thus their family bones would not get disturbed. As the cities expanded, new buildings would cover more land, with the exception of the coffins, now being moat-protected woodlands. Before achieving the unplanned park status, coffins were just an expansion of the simpler and older tumulus. I know you know, but still, here's what a tumulus is. They are earth mounds with dead VIP inside. One same type of construction that is found all around the world, in a recurring format that could get a YouTube channel for itself. However, this one is dedicated to Cyclopean Walls. So let's keep the diversion to a minimum. Back to the Future, coffins were an expanded tumulus with its entrance corridor extended, achieving the key-shaped format, plus a water moat around it for extra wow. In Asuka, there is only one such keyhole coffins, but there are quite a few of the older and simpler tumulus, built from 4 to 7 AD. Luckily for us, unlucky for the dead person inside, a couple of the tumulus were damaged by time, and now we can see their inner workings, revealing it is more than just an earth mount. At the core is a megalithic corridor, leading to an internal chamber, all made of immense fitted stones, housing an also blocky sarcophagus. Resuming time traveling, the coffins in Asuka look suspiciously Egyptian in their styling. Just compare with these ones in the Cairo Museum. Even if they are separated by 3000 years, the looks are uncannily similar. Even more striking in similarity across time is the tumulus itself. There is virtually no difference between the Dolmen de Menga in Spain, the Table de Marchand in France, and the Ishibutai in Asuka. At least if we disregard them being on the other side of the world and built 5000 years before. Without time traveling, it's hard to explain how civilizations millennia apart would come up with such similar constructions. The Earth Mount, it's easy to guess, I guess. It's a simple way to build something big and long-lasting, fitting for a dead VIP inside. But what about the fitted megaliths? Those aren't basic in any way. We sure can come up with a few easier building ideas than assembling 3D puzzles with multi-tone stones. But that's precisely what we find inside both the Japanese and the European tumulus. One interesting detail of the Japanese tumulus in Asuka is that the chamber walls are multi-storied, not just one row of very large blocks, but several rows of still very large rocks. That would make up for a taller chamber, enough to house those Egyptian-style sarcophagus, and useful to practice early Cyclopean work, with the rows of big stones fitting one to another rather nicely. So, now we know where the Japanese were practicing the Cyclopean skill set before committing to the mirror stone in Osaka Castle, as we've seen in the previous video. Going further back to the past, we stumble into some indecipherable stone sculptures. These are nicknamed, respectively, the Sake Distillery, because of reasons. The, yes you guessed it, turtle. And the spaceship, maybe not in a literal sense. Those bizarre stoneworks predate all the other constructions in town. And they are old. So old they were not carved but slowly polished into shape, as metal tools were not yet around. Since it was already hard to accept tumulus exist all around the world, not due to time traveling, but because there is no better way to hide a VIP corpse than under an earth mount covering some megastone 3D fitted in a chamber with a solid coffin inside, although that's some serious lack of imagination, how do we try and explain away the recurring tumulus also following weird rock carving art? Check out this thing in Peru, and this other one in Portugal. Or that another one in Italy. They are said to be older than time itself, are built for no reason with immense work without metal tools. And all that just to leave future generations guessing on their purpose. This megalithic global timeline goes as follows. Sometime after the abstract sculptures disappeared, another people would come in, find this bizarre rock art laying around, and start up a stratified society around it, completed with massive tumulus. Moving on in time, the fat cats, not being dead yet, come to realize that living is nicer than dying, and switch from building tumulus to raise neat palaces on top of Cyclopean Acropolis. The third and final stage is the most spectacular of the recurring megalithic timeline, with impressive Cyclopean acropolis such as Alatri in Italy, Sacsayhuaman in Peru or Osaka in Japan that are often called castles, but are mostly showcases for wealth and power. By the time Japan was moving into this third stage of glitches in the matrix, Asuka was no longer the imperial capital. So, the closest palace with a Cyclopean base is in Osaka, which is both the oldest and the largest of all the samurai castles, even boasting the biggest fitted stones. In a timeline repeat of Giza in Egypt, where the Great Pyramid is, for no better reason, also the oldest and the grandest, as even the name says. These three rock stages, first of abstract stone art, followed by stone-fitted tumulus, culminating in Cyclopean Acropolis, are remarkably coincident across continents, although the timings for it do not fit. In Europe, the three stages are happening maybe at 5, 3 and then 1 millennia BC, whilst in Japan the dates are arguably 3, 7 and 17 centuries AD. In Japan the three stages happen much faster and millennia later. It's hard to see how they got communicated, unless there was time travel involved. At the same time, we cannot unsee the similarities of those three stages, or even four if we consider how everywhere polygonal masonry just disappears when time comes. Quite the coincidence, as of all the ways to assemble rocks, from randomly piling up rubble to squared blocks or sticking it up with mortar, polygonal masonry is the hardest, the most demanding, and somehow it keeps showing up, just to be forgotten. Here's the gist. Both options are weird. Either the Japanese came up with the same strange ideas in that same strange order, thousands of years apart, purely by coincidence, or they were influenced by some source able to have his message heard across thousands of years. Who could it be? If not aliens, nor time travelers, then all that we are left with are the Portuguese, as we'll see in the next video. Until then, see you around.